Hello and welcome to day 11 of my 7-week challenge to post a video every day. Today I'm going to be talking about why I quit my job. If you haven't already seen yesterday's, please watch it because that is the reasons that I stayed for so long. And I think that's important to understand what I was losing by quitting. So if you haven't watched that one yet, please watch that one first. But for today, I'm again talking about the reasons that I did quit my job. So I wanted to start with a bit of history of how I ended up working there. I was just finishing I just graduated from university with a Bachelor of Arts, and my major was Rhetoric and Communications. And I had gotten accepted into a college program, a 2-year program that was Creative Communications. And that program I got in, but because they only take so many people each year, they were already full for the school year that was going to be starting the fall after I'd graduated. So I had to wait to start until a year later. Now, knowing I had a year in between, I figured that was a good opportunity to work full time, make some money, save some money. So I knew I was going to need a full-time job, and at first I was just looking at various different places. And from yesterday's video, you know why I ultimately decided to go for that job. I wanted that one little perk. And in that position, it just worked out good because someone was going to be gone for a maternity leave for a year. And that was exactly timing wise. It was perfect for the year that I had off. So that is how I ended up there to begin with. Now, that first position, I was working at reception, and also while at reception, I did a lot of different admin type duties, processing things, data entry, and stuff like that. And so I finished my year and I started my school program, and I wasn't working at all while in school. But then summer break came, and the company invited me back to work for the summer to help out while people were on vacation and stuff. And so I thought, well, it's a good way to make some money while I'm off again. So I accepted. I worked there. It was great. And in that position, I was mostly covering and helping out in the accounting department. So it was totally different duties, but it was something new and fun to try. And again, I went back to school for my final year, not expecting to return to the company again. But alas, I graduated and they invited me back for the summer again. So I figured, well, it doesn't hurt. That way I can have an income. I can have a full-time income while I'm looking for another job. So that was originally the plan. Now I was finishing up one project, some freelance work, so I couldn't start right away, but I finished my freelance job that was connected to my schooling. And again, I started applying some places. Now, when I returned to that job, it was originally covering for someone who was off work, but that person never ended up returning, so that's how it got extended. And I should also explain with the program in schooling with creative communications, I did major in broadcast production. But in that program, the first year, everyone has to take courses in all 4 majors. So the other 3 majors were advertising, public relations, and journalism. So even though those weren't my majors, because it's such a hand-on program, you're forced right into doing those specific type of tasks and duties that you would have to do in the actual work field. So I did have a lot of practice and experience in the different fields, and often a lot of people who take the program end up working more. Their job is actually in the major that they didn't choose, but because we all do get experience in all the fields, it just kind of works out that way. So I did get one job that was related to more broadcast production, and that was working with the football team, the CFL team. At home games, I would edit the highlight packages, and those are shown after each quarter. So I did that for 3 seasons, but there's only 10 home games, so that's only 10 shifts, right? So that's certainly not a full-time job, and I ended up quitting that job because it just got complicated with trying to balance that and my full-time job. And plus with the stadium moving, where the stadium used to be, it was in walking distance from my day job. So it worked out really good for me to go straight thereafter. But the stadium did move. So just with getting across the city, it got a lot more complicated. So I decided to let go of that job and ultimately just stay with my day job. And I did apply to a couple places the summer after I graduated. One, I ended up dropping myself out of it because I realized I wasn't interested. One, I didn't hear back from. One, I didn't get, and I ended up glad because I kind of realized while they were deciding that it wasn't really what I wanted, and I just kind of wanted something. So ultimately, that was absolutely the best decision. They ended up hiring one of my classmates who was way, way better at it than I ever could have been. So I was very happy with that, but I never applied anywhere else after. And it was never a conscious decision of, okay, I've decided I'm going to stay here. That was never what it was. The plan was always to leave, but I just never followed through with that plan, I guess. I mean, time goes by very fast. I wanted to live on my own for a few years. Then while I was living on my own, I got engaged. Then you're planning a wedding. And it's true. It always does honestly amaze me how quickly time moves. That 9 years did go by in a blink of an eye, where I never planned to stay, but you just all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, wow, how did all these years go by? So with the position that I ended up doing was not at all related to my education. What my job was for 9 years essentially was printing things and putting them in envelopes. So not really at all connected to broadcast production for sure, not really connected to communications. And in the end, it was a very repetitive job, very mundane tasks, not stimulating at all. And it wasn't, I definitely didn't feel like I was giving what I could be giving. I felt like I was living below my abilities, if that makes sense. So I knew that I wanted to do something different. And again, I never planned to at any given time, I never planned to be there more than a year. So it wasn't that I really made some big life decision. It was more just kind of finally following through, I guess, on what my plan was. But there was a time about a year before I quit that I considered staying, because so my position it wasn't what I wanted to do. I love the place, I love the people, but I was very unhappy with my actual job. And a lot of the positions there are, for the most part, data entry. Whether you're entering claims or entering admin type information, it was pretty much all data entry. So there wasn't really another position that interested me, but one position did come up about a year before I quit, and I really started to think, well, if this worked out, then I could still stay at this company, but I could be doing something that is a lot more in my field and more in my training. And I'm shedding a little bit right now, and I can just feel it tickling my shoulder, so I apologize, but I had to deal with the hair that was attacking me. So where was I? Okay, so I applied for this position. A position came up that would have been much more connected to my education and my training, and much more in the creative communications type aspect. So I did apply for that job. Unfortunately, I was not even considered for it because of my lack of experience. Now, I was honestly quite frustrated at the time and hurt and very kind of sour about it, you could say, because ultimately the thing that stopped me from even getting a chance was my lack of experience. Now, the reason that was frustrating is because I didn't have other experience because I had spent so much time there. So basically, my loyalty to the company over the years was the very thing that shot me in the foot when it came to working in a position that was connected and related to my field and my education. So that was frustrating, but in the end, it was, I'm grateful for it because, well, number one, the person that they hired absolutely was more experienced and way better in the position. But number two, it really kind of gave me the push that I needed to release me, I guess, because like I said in the video, there were so many wonderful things about the company that it was very easy to be comfortable there and to be settled and to just let the years go by. Always, even though I was always planning to leave, it was very easy to stay. So with this, it kind of gave me that little kick in the pants that I needed to realize that the longer I stayed there, the worse I was making it for myself, because at that point, I knew for sure that there was nothing else that I could do to provide more to that company and to fill a role that was more what I was interested in. So that kind of released me in a way. And so despite the fact that I was disappointed, in the end, I know it was the best decision because it was something that I needed for myself to know that I kind of needed to get out before more time went. Now, it did take me another year, but it really made it a lot more serious that I really need to figure out what to do so that I can get experience. And at this point, I'll be honest, I don't necessarily know exactly what that means. Right now, I'm focusing on the book and getting everything wrapped up with the book. But once that's wrapped up, I'm obviously going to need a full-time income, and I might have to be volunteering and stuff for a while before I get maybe a position that I want. In general, I would love if I could just be a speaker and writer full-time. That would be fantastic. The reality of that, creating a full-time income by the end of September, is pretty slim to none. So I realize that there are absolutely different things that I may be doing in the meantime, and probably not getting paid what I was. But I still think that that was an important step for me to take to give me a chance of moving forward in my life and pursuing something different. I needed to, cut the cord and get out of my comfort zone to force myself to just see what's out there, be open to different possibilities and options that may or may not come my way. I just know I needed to try, because the thought of not even trying is what gave me even more dread. So that is why I quit my job. I really wanted to do something different, something more connected to my education. And unfortunately, despite how much I love the people and the place and all the perks, it wasn't an option for me to be able to pursue the actual job I wanted at that company. So that is why I did quit my job, and I can't regret being there because it was still a great experience. I have wonderful memories there. I've met wonderful people there, and I can still stay connected to them. And hopefully I will continue to have their love and support as I launch myself into whatever may come. So that is why I quit, and here's to hoping that there is a wonderful adventure ahead of me in the future. Thank you for watching. Good night.